Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is FATIN ZALIKHA.
My name is NORHISHAM AFINA BINTI MOHAMAD.
This is NATASYA.
Hi, my name is ELYEA.
My name is MOHAMAD HARIZ.
And hi, my name is NAWAL AZALEA.
In this video, we will introduce or to explain to you guys about the safety and health awareness in laboratory. As we all know that there is a high chance or high possibility of injury and many things can occur in the laboratory. But we should know the first thing first is the term that related to this incident. The first one is safety. Safety is a condition of being protected against a physical, emotional, social, and also sometimes political in certain situations. But in this case is laboratory. The second one is accident. Accident is unplanned or unexpected event that occur which lead to human injury, damage to the property, a near miss or a loss, and somehow a combination of these effects. Let's say that we accidentally drop a test tube that contains chemical substance. That's what we call accident. So when accident happen, it will lead to hazard. Hazard is a situation or a source of harm that which lead to this injury, the damage to the property and environment. So let's say that the chemical that we dropped recently is contain a very corrosive substance or toxic substance. So it will be dangerous to our health. So that's what we call the hazard. And the lastly, or the last and least, is the risk. The risk is actually a combination of the likelihood of an occurrence of this hazardous event. When the accident happens, they will lead to hazard. So when there is a hazard, there is also a risk of us to take the damage, or it's dangerous to our health, to the environments, and so on. So what causes of this accident or this all of things to happen? I will pass to my friends. ELYEA.
There are three causes of accident. The first one is basic causes, which is lack of safety policy and administration, and also poor maintenance. The second one is indirect causes, which is unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. For this one, I will explain the example and details later in the video. Last but not least is direct causes, which is unplanned release of energy, flammable and lethal materials. All the causes will likely to prompt an accident and causing personal injury and proper violation. So now I'm going to explain details about example of unsafe acts that can lead to accident. Firstly, when we didn't use the protective equipment provided in the lab, such as didn't wear gloves while dealing with chemical substances, which is very dangerous because we might touch toxic chemicals that are harmful to us. Next, failure of handling sharp or slippery objects. For example, when using thermometer, it might break if it slips from our hands and can cause bigger damage because of the mercury inside the thermometer. Other than that, improper usage of equipment in the lab, although there are correct tools available. Last but not least, hazarding movements such as fooling around and running inside the lab. These kind of actions shouldn't be done in lab because it might be a danger to other people in the lab. So yeah, that's all for example of unsafe acts. And for now, example of unsafe conditions, I will pass it to the next person.
Now I will continue with unsafe condition. There are several examples of unsafe condition. Firstly, ineffective safety device that will cause injuries to workers and students. Secondly, hazard housekeeping. This also can lead to accidents such as poorly maintained equipment. Apparatus can break, spilling its content and damage the equipment, and also this can cause injuries. Thirdly, improper dress for the job. It will risk of being struck by falling object, impact on collision, and chemical burns and electric shocks. Some health problems take years of exposure to hazard to develop, such as noise-induced or even cancer. That's why we need to wear a proper dress during a lab, for example lab coat and also shoes. Lastly, improper illumination and ventilation. This can cause the student be less alert to the surrounding due to the lack of lighting, and this also can lead to the dangerous accident. Therefore, safety condition is very important in the lab to prevent the things from happening. And now I will pass to Hariz.
And now I will present you the methods that we can apply to prevent accidents from happening in our laboratory. Now, the first method is we must maintain adequate ventilation. Ventilation is crucial for vapor emissions in the laboratory. A laboratory hood is sufficient enough to prevent the accumulation of ignitable vapor during a lab procedure. Therefore, we must avoid opening windows or doors due to the ventilation in the laboratory. Failure to do so could result in a flash fire or an explosion. Now, the second method is we must pour chemical properly. This is crucial to minimize the splash, splatter, or other accidental scenarios that could occur. For example, do not pour water into acid vigorously. Slowly add the acid into the water by stirring. Secondly, we must use a mechanical aid or a pipette bulb for pipetting. Finally, we must open bottles that contain chemicals carefully and slowly while wearing a protective equipment to guard our hands, faces, and body from splashes, vapors, or fumes. The third method is we must prevent exposure to corrosive chemicals, fumes, and vapors. Do not inhale any chemical vapor as it will lead to serious injury. That's all from me, and now I will pass to Nawal.
I will continue with other ways how to prevent an accident from happen in laboratory. So first and foremost, we always need to wear proper attire when we come to the lab. For example, wear long sleeve clothes like lab coat and tie your hair if you have long hair, and wear closed-toe shoe when you come to the lab to prevent from the contact of chemical substance and dust and so on. The other ways on how to prevent an accident from happening in laboratory is always provide optimum training. Most chemicals and substances present in medical laboratories have to be handled with proper techniques and methods. Laboratory equipment also requires qualified technicians or technologists. It is important to remember that improper handling of such equipment can cause a loss of life and property. And the last prevention is always have a fire extinguisher. Most fires can be put out with a fire extinguisher if used at the right time. Fire extinguishers must be placed at noticeable points such as by the main door so that people can easily locate it times of an emergency. The staff should also be taught to the fire escape routes and procedures. And now I will pass to Zalika.
Thank you, Nawal. So this is my turn to wrap up this session by revising back the importance of safety and awareness in laboratory that we have learned just now. From the whole entire video, we can conclude that it is very important for all of us to know some of the words such as safety, which means the condition of being protected against social, physical, emotional, and many more. Next, the word accident gives the meaning of an unexpected or unplanned event that will lead to human injury, damage to property, and a near miss or loss. A source or a given situation with a potential for harms is known as hazard, while a risk is a combination of a likelihood of an occurrence of hazard events. We also have learned 3 different causes of an accident. The first one is basic causes, which is the lack of safety policy and administration, and also the poor maintenance of the laboratory. Indirect causes such as risk environment and safety concern, as well as direct causes like flammable and lethal material, also occur in laboratories sometimes. And note that all causes will likely to prompt an accident and causing personal injury and property violation. But There are ways to prevent such accidents from happening. First, by maintaining adequate ventilation. Next, prevent chemicals properly, as well as prevent exposure to corrosive chemical fumes and vapors. When in laboratory, always be in a proper attire and be prepared with optimum training, as well as having fire extinguisher in laboratory. And that's all from us on safety and health awareness in laboratory, and thank you for your time.